Trojan family, Trojan gang, fight on forever's in our building. And today we finna talk about what's been going on at USC campus, fall camp, how they been turning up, who been standing out, what's it looking like, what's going on down there. Now the first thing I want to talk about, your boy Gavin Myers. Michael Myers. Heard he looking the part. And that's big. We needed defense alignment that's finna come in and do what he's supposed to do. Finna come in and be consistent and play at a high level. Who go win more plays than he lose, right? And I've been hearing Gavin Meyer been looking the part on the field, and he fitting right in off the field. You hear me? But that don't surprise me. That don't surprise me at all, buddy. Because I've been scouting on Gavin Meyer, and the kid the real deal, right? The kid the real deal. I seen, go check out Wyoming versus Texas. Check it out. And Gavin Meyer is flashing. He making plays. He getting in the backfield. He was causing damage against the Texas offensive line. We know Texas was elite. That offensive line looked good against Alabama, right? They was moving the ball against Alabama, protecting Ken Ewers against Alabama. They went to the college football playoffs, and Gavin Meyer was forcing them to double team him. Gavin Meyer had a couple tackle for losses in that game. He was splitting double teams. He was too quick for some of their linemen and too strong for the other. I'm like, oh, okay. This is possibly a diamond in the rough. Texas is a power 5, power 4 type team with talent. If he could dominate the Texas offensive line or just look like he belonged, make plays and cause wreck back there, right? Then I know he got something for us. I know he could play, right? He stood out against Texas. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't surprised that he's standing out in practice doing his thing. He seems solid and consistent. He got a quicker than the look get off, right? And he's stout and strong, right? So it don't surprise me. And we need somebody next to Bear. We need somebody who gonna make sure Bear don't get double teamed. Lincoln Riley was talking about he need more consistency from Bear. And Bear, that's true. But Bear need more consistency for the kid playing next to him, right? Because it don't matter how dominant Bear is, if he the only one to be respected on that defensive line, he ain't gonna have no impact. They gonna double team him, focus on him, run the ball away from him. All that, right? He's not going to have an impact if he don't got nobody next to him that's to be respected. So the fact that Gavin Meyer is out there on a respect and catching eyes is big and it's crucial for this defense, because we know DeAnton Lynn's defense is predicated off the D-line doing his thing. DeAnton Lynn, he could throw these exotic coverages back there, confuse quarterbacks. He could call a good game, but it don't matter what you call it if your defensive line ain't doing nothing. The offensive coordinator can just run the ball down your throat. Forget your scheme. Forget your strategy, forget the X's and O's. At that point, it's about the Jimmys and Joes on the offensive defensive line, y'all. They ain't about no X's and O's on the offensive defensive line. This is about the Jimmy and Joes, right? And who's coached up right, and who got their technique, and who's willing to win. Now on the back end and back seven, that's X's and O's, calling up schemes, confusing quarterback blitzes, exotic packages, shell coverages, and all that and whatnot. That's culture. But in them trenches, it's about them Jimmys and it's about them Joes. So it's important that we got them Jimmys and them Joes down there, because it don't matter how good and how much of a genius DeAnton Lynn is. If that defensive line ain't stout, throw it away. You know what I'm saying? Defense is going to be limited, right? Right. So another report I heard out of campus, the DB room is getting deeper. The DB room is getting deeper by the day. I heard Jalen Smith over there with the DBs, and I see the plan. I see DeAnton Lynn. I see Doug Belt. I see why they putting Jalen Smith at DB, because we got to get him on the field. He too good to not have on the field, right? Of course, we're going to have the Carlos Nicholson on the field. He been too good. He's 6'3". He the prototypical DeAnton Lynn type DB. So is Jacoby Covington. They probably locked in just because they ability to cover in their size. DeAnton Lynn love that size, right? But when you got players like Greedy Vance and Jalen Smith, you like Greedy Vance playing the nickel. So Greedy Vance locked in at the nickel. Jalen Smith too good to not be on the field. So it's easier to get him on the field playing DB instead of playing strictly safety or nickel, right? Because on most defensive packages, it's only gonna be one nickel out there. On most defensive packages, it's gonna be one safety or two at most. You can run a 3-3-5 and have 4 DBs out there, 5 if you want. You can run a regular 3-4 and have 3 DBs out there if you want. You can run a 4-2-5 and have 5 DBs, 4 DBs if you want. So learn the DB position, and having Jalen Smith in a DB position is more opportunity for him to get on the field, right? There's more opportunity, so they got him running with the DBs because Jalen Smith is going to be our Swiss Army knife. Greedy Vance, you struggling on that nickel, you having a matchup problem, Jalen Smith, go get him. You know what I'm saying? Is a quick guy getting loose on the Carlos Nicholson or Jacoby Covington. Jalen Smith, go get him. Right? We need a certain matchup at safety. Jalen Smith, go get him. So they realizing the talent and the versatility that Jalen Smith has. And that versatility is key in D'Anton Lynn's defense. It's predicated off great D-line and versatile players that can play on the back end, the back 7, right? So we ain't got to sub out during the middle of a play because the other team changed their formation, right? We could keep players in because they're versatile. That's why Bees, right? That's why Bees, he go from practicing with the DBs to the linebackers to the DBs, because you need a hybrid type player to have versatile defense and versatile looks, right? So if I got Bees in there, if we thinking you finna pass the ball but you run the ball, it's cool. I got a DB in there that can thump with the linebackers, and then you decide to pass it, and you looking at him as a linebacker, and you think you gonna pick on him with a tight end or something, right? You in for a rude awakening. Right? So it is key to have versatile players like Jalen Smith and Bees. You could disguise coverages more, and the defense don't know what you doing, and it's less vulnerable weak spots that you could pick on. If you the right offensive coordinator, you could say, let me spread them out. Let me find a matchup against a linebacker. Let me try to put a linebacker on a receiver or an elite tight end. Let me try to put a safety on somebody shifty, right? That's what these offensive coordinators do. They search for matchups they can exploit. Right? When you got Bees and Jalen Smith who could play nickel, safety, and Bees who could play linebacker too, that's one matchup you could exploit. You can't say, oh, let me find a safety and throw this dude on him. Jalen Smith got that. You can't say, let me find a linebacker or nickel or something like that and expose him. Bees got that. So it'll make our defense versatile, ready for the run and pass at the same time, right? So I love what they doing with the cross training, because we do got players that fit that mold. That's why this coaching staff and this scheme, I feel like it's perfect for the players we got. We got multiple players. I could sit here all day and talk about players who could play multiple positions, especially on that back 7. You hear me? Even Eric Gentry. His long butt, he can play safety if need be in certain packages. You hear me? So I love the versatility of this team. I love how they moving players around. They finna get every ounce of talent out this roster, and they finna do everything they can to have a great defense, right? And speaking of defense, Lincoln Riley gonna say the defense been dominating, and I want to get happy, and I know I'm 1,000% sure the defense is gonna be better than next year. I feel like we got better players and better scheme, right? I truly do. But we gotta take that with a grain of salt, because for one, the defense is already ahead of the offense. Watch preseason NFL games. Watch any football, the defense is already always ahead of the offense. Number 2, Lincoln Riley said the same thing last year, and that defense turned out to be trash. So we go see about it starting September 1st, if that's coach speak or not. Another thing he said, he want Bear Alexander to be more consistent, which I think he will. He kind of missed most of spring, so Bear Alexander got to make the most out these fall practices, right? So I think it's just as important as Bear being consistent as having somebody next to him that's consistent. Because even with his inconsistency, teams focus on him and double team him and realize our defense was a different defense was he was on the field. And that's according to Dan Lanning, right? So both is true. We need Bear to be more consistent, and we need somebody next to him. That's why I brought up Gavin Meyer at the top of the show. Let's go, right? And another thing that caught my attention But it had me kind of sad though. I'm like kind of sad about it, right? I was going over the list of USC players that had weight gains and weight losses. Now, every player that had weight loss was by design, like Amos Talele, right? They wanted to trim him down, right? And then Solo lost weight, but he was injured, right? So when you injured, you lose that weight you've been building, right? So what I noticed is from spring to fall, EG didn't go nowhere. EG didn't go nowhere. He was clocking in at 215. From winter to spring, he gained 5 pounds. He went from 210 to 215. But from spring to fall, he ain't gained no weight. It's genetics. He got that high metabolism. Eric Gentry got that basketball body with a football mind and mentality, but his genetics screams basketball. I bet you he probably could come from the free throw line, windmill dunk and all that, because everybody gaining weight, 10, 15, 20 pounds. Even that freshman, La Lola, he gained 22 pounds from spring to fall. Like, this program that Billy Wiley's running is guaranteed to put weight on you unless you Eric Gentry. So his metabolism must be crazy. We battling genetics right now, and what it hurts me, not for USC, is for him though, right? Because I feel like when he healthy, he gonna play. He big enough, he got the heart. Eric Gentry at 215, he big enough to still get out there and do his thing. What I worry about him is durability. It's gonna be hard to stay healthy at 215 and you 6'7". I can see if you 215, 6'2", then you kind of stocky. But he 215, 6'7", so he lean, he thin, right? So he got less protection, right? He got less cushion for the pushing. You know what I'm saying? He got less cruising for that bruising. So I just hope he can find a way to stay healthy, and I can hope by the time he graduates and go to the NFL draft that he's at least up. He can say he's 225, because I feel like the NFL teams is gonna be hesitant to draft a linebacker who's 6'7", 215, right? And he only even gained 5 pounds on the Billy Wiley project, and I know Eric Gentry was the number one dude they was probably trying to put weight on. The number one dude, right? He's 6'7". They probably was like, okay, if we can, we want to get him up to 235, 240. They falling like 20 pounds short with Eric Gentry, and I know the program worked, so Eric Gentry metabolism must be crazy. He need to take something to slow down his metabolism or something. Kid can't put on no weight. Man, come on. I can't say come on EG, because I know he working hard and I know they feeding him. Sometimes your metabolism is just crazy. Sometimes you can't beat genetics. It's like Eric Gentry got to go on a weight building program, not lifting weights to be strong at football. He need to be lifting weights and not even running. But you know that gonna take away from durability. You can't train for football without running. And some of the things you got to do to train for football to play linebacker position gonna keep weight off you. That's too much running. Eric Gentry really need to sit down. He really should have sat down and just been like, you know what? I can't even practice. Like I just gotta gain weight. Like I'm coming into my 4th year. I'ma learn the playbook by watching and reading. But all that running and like I work on my. But like man, like he should have been eating. If they was telling them to eat 5,000, 6,000 calories a day, EG should have been eating 7 or 8. And he should run a little less than everybody else running, because if EG had got up to 225, 230, he would have been a definite monster. I would have worked on his condition during the season. Forget it. The first game, you ain't in condition. Oh, well, play 10 and 15 plays. We're going to work you in condition during the season. But the off season should have been strictly this. And this is hindsight. Right? So I ain't gonna blame the coaching staff, but in hindsight, he should have did no run. He should have been all power, weight training, eating and sitting on his butt. Eating healthy, eating heavy, and sitting on his butt, and worked on his conditioning during the season, right? Because he didn't, like I just know if he was like 225, 230, he'll be a monster. But I ain't gonna keep on ranting. That is kind of like, man, that kind of hurt my feelings because I know how much this kid want to put on weight and I know how hard he been working. But when he out there on the field, he gonna be blazing fast. He gonna be hailing the passing lane for the quarterbacks and he gonna be sideline to sideline, right? So long as Eric Gentry in there, he gonna make a pack. He gonna make an impact. So let's pray and cross our fingers that he stay healthy, man. But that's all I got for y'all today. Eric Gentry, Bear Alexander, the defense, the DB room getting bigger, and your boy Gavin Meyer, right? So until then, man, it's Trojan City, it's Carter Sports, it's USC. So let's go.